everybody, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio. I have a super easy and beautiful card for you today, so I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to be using the Seascape. So the Seascape, two reasons I'm using it, actually kind of three. So it is part of the 20% off special that Stampin' Up's having this month. There's several bundles that are part of the 20% off special, so I'm going to try as the month goes on to revisit as many of them as I can. So we've got the sale sets, and we still have tons of sets because the last month I focused mainly on celebrations. So there's so many fun sets that I still have in the January to June mini catalog. I have till June, but there's some spring kind of sets that I really want to focus on as well. So I'm going to hit as many of the sale sets as I can. But the Seascape bundle is part of my upcoming spring online retreat. So for the retreat, the way I do my online retreats is the videos I'll post over a weekend, but you have access to the videos forever. So if you can't see them the weekend that they post, you can go back next year and watch them and do them with your supplies. So I have 3 featured bundles, but you don't have to have the bundles, or if you already have them, you can just use them. And Seascape is one of them. So I will put the link so you can look at the information for my retreat underneath the video, or if you're watching this on my website, it's right there. If you're on Facebook, there'll be a little event for it. Super fun. So you can get all of the bundles, you can just get 2 of the bundles, or you can just get the card supplies, or you can just get the videos. There's lots of ways to participate. So that's part of the reason I'm using Seascape. I'm also going to use the Waves of Inspiration paper because I have that class, and registration for that is closing soon. So the retreat focus is on specialty papers. So I'm going to pull those into that as well. But I wanted to show you the bundle. So it is on page 12 of the catalog. It's already 10% off as a bundle, so you get another 20% off as part of the sale. So it makes it a really good deal. Super cute. Let me show you a couple of the things that I've already done. Well, this one my friend gave me. Super cute. And she used specialty papers on it as well. So it's got the gold and it's got the shimmer vellum, which I'm going to use. And then she used the gold leafing to kind of stamp those fish back there. She made this one for me as well. So this one has the shimmer vellum and the rose out of the same packet of shimmer vellum. Actually, maybe my other friend, I don't know. We often don't write our names on them anymore because we're lazy. I think that the same friend made me that one. I did make this one. So the rest of these are mine, and you can find these tutorials on my channel. This one also, tons of specialty paper. This has the pearlescent and the gold shimmer vellum, which I'm not quite sure that that's still available. That might be gone. And then this was celebration paper that you might have had from last year. Another one filled with specialty papers. This one has the ombre glimmer paper and shimmer vellum. And then this one, we created our own specialty paper, and all of these tutorials can be found on my channel. So super cute. And then I'm going to be making a slimline card, and I'll tell you why in just a second, but my slimline envelopes won't be here for a couple more days. So let me just show you where you can find them in the catalog, and then I will hit them back and I'll show you on the next tutorial when I have them. But they are in the January to June mini catalog, and they're here. And the color combination that I'm using, you can use for these. I just don't have them because sometimes when you put an order in, it comes UPS most of the time. And sometimes it comes SurePost, which is the postal service, and they're just a little bit slower. So I thought I would have it, but I don't have it. So let's do this card. So to do a slimline card, this is 8.5 by 7. So, I think that it's kind of difficult to fold this direction, so I always use my scoring blade. So I've cut this 8.5 by 7. So put this in here, and then at 3.5, we will score it in half. And it just makes it easier to fold it. I like to press it so it has a really good score line on it. And then fold this in half. I'm going to go ahead and have this ready because I'm going to stamp my card and the outside of my card and my inside of the card at the same time. And then because it's a slimline, I think it also works better if you go ahead and just press this. It's just a little bit awkward for the fiber of the paper this direction. So we have this, and then this is the Waves of Inspiration paper. Now this is a limited edition paper. And the reason I wanted to do the slimline card is because this particular piece of paper is really, really pretty, and it goes from the blues all the way down to the papayas and the corals. And I wanted them all on one piece of my card. And it was really hard to get that 5.5 to have all those layers of color. So I thought, well, a slimline will fit it perfectly. And now we have the envelopes, so it makes it a perfect match for that. So let's cut our dies out first. So I'm going to use some specialty papers, and that the focus of my retreat this time is specialty papers. We're going to use this every single card. We'll do 12 projects in my retreat, and every single one will have specialty papers on it because they're so much fun. And most of them will have multiple specialty papers, just like this one. So here I have, this is our supple shimmer paper, and it is in the January to June catalog. Let's do our seahorse out of that. Those of you that purchased from me in February, I mailed your VIP video projects this morning, and I'll get your videos posted shortly. Mondays are always crazy, but you have the seahorse or the fish coming. I did use this bundle for one of your projects. And then the other one I used, if you got both projects, then I did the sunflower. So both of them are sale sets. And then this is the blue foils, which is also part of the Waves of Inspiration. And then this is that lovely in color shimmer vellum. Send this through. These dies cut, they're super fun, the way they cut out. So this, of course, is vellum, and it's the shimmery kind. And because this is such a detailed little die, you just need to make sure that you don't tear it. So just kind of pull it out. It cuts after one pass. You can see it's just really, really detailed. And so you don't want to tear it. So I'm going to get most of it out like this. And then it looks like it has little pieces that pop out. All of these dies do, but it's really just little cuts in it to give it some dimension. So once I have it all out up here at the top, then I'm going to put it through the roller. There we go. And then this one I'm going to put through the roller, and then these should just pop out. But these, see how it looks like maybe those fins are going to pop out? They don't. They just kind of lift up. So with this, you can just kind of roll it, and then they just kind of pop up. And it just gives it some dimension, because you know fish fins pop up. So a little gill right there. And that's that fun limited edition foil. So there is a companion video that goes with this, because when I started to stamp, my coral pad had what I call ink gummies or ink bunnies on it, kind of like, you know, dust bunnies, but ink bunnies, where they get little goodies on the sides of your pad. And so I've done another video right before I started this. So that easily takes those out. It's better if you do it in the die, and then most of these have come out. The last couple that didn't. Just roll those on here. But you can see this one doesn't pop out. And when we were doing this for my class, my husband was convinced that my die was broken, even though, well, for one, he's a die cutting expert these days because we cut so many dies for my classes. But I told him it wasn't going to pop out, and then he, you know, as husbands sometimes do, didn't fully listen to my words. And so then a few minutes later, he insisted that my die was broken. This is meant to be like this, because if I had cut this, if I had another die and it was an oval, or if you did a perfect square cut, then you could lay this on here and you could have this be part of it. So this, instead of being the seahorse itself, would be a seahorse block. And then you can have the colors be underneath. Or you could even have it on white, or you could color underneath it. But that's how it's designed. If you want the seahorse itself to pop out, then there's just a couple of places on here where you have to cut. I think on this, if you just kind of pull it up and just snip those, there's about 4 places. Excuse me. And as you pop them, then you'll start to see as it just releases itself from the paper. The 2 over here are a little bit trickier. There's just one right in here. So flip that around and just snip that out. And then there's one right down here. So there's those 4 little spots. And then he just comes out. You can also use this piece then for a mask if you want to. Just cut it out of a bigger piece of paper and you could mask. And then we have our fun little seahorse. And you can do them in all kinds of specialty papers or just in regular paper. But you know, seahorses are magical, aren't they? And so they kind of are just crying out for some specialty paper. Now, all of our glimmer papers on these finer dies can sometimes, it's not that they didn't cut, but just sometimes the glitter itself kind of gets stuck. So got that. And then we'll get this one out, one more little pass with this, just to help loosen those up. But I started to tell you about the ink pad because I used the other tips of this. So if you go watch that video, you can see more uses for your, because I use my Take Your Pick tool to get those little goodies off. See, and so once you have most of those unhooked from here, that little pass will get these off. I'm gonna have both pieces ready at the same time. So I'm gonna stamp the outside and then I'm gonna stamp the inside of my card. And that way we can just get it all done at once. Now, if you watched my video on how to fix this, you know I'm a little bit nervous because not only did I fix it, but I went ahead and re-inked it so I could show you how I use my Take Your Pick. So it's gonna be a little extra juicy, but that's okay. Hopefully I didn't put too much ink on it. So I'm gonna take my coral, and I chose coral. So I have my coral and I went with coral the color. So I'm just gonna stamp this off the edge. Oh, we're good. And if sometimes you think your inks don't look great, they probably do need to be re-inked. I'm just gonna stamp this on the inside of my card. I'm gonna go so it goes over the fold because this one's nice and juicy, so I know it'll make that crease. If your ink pads are not well inked, then sometimes they don't go well over the fold, but this one does. Because I just re-inked it 10 minutes ago, and I also got it on my fingers. I tried really hard not to, but you know, not a great color to start your day off, trying to not get dirty. And then I have papaya. And this is the stamps that come in the set, the bundle. My papaya could really almost stand to be inked, but it's okay. Papaya is a light color. Just makes the inside of your card super happy. And we'll put a couple over here. This one doesn't really, this piece of paper only has a tiny bit of papaya in it. The other one, the way the paper fell, it had more. This one has more of the Blushing Bride and the coral. Put that there. And then I have Pacific Point. And the bubbles. Slimline cards are a little bit longer, obviously. So a little bit of messing with them to get them to work. Now when you do the bubbles, kind of spin them so they're not all going the same direction. Maybe get a couple down here. And then on my card, I'm going to put them on the inside and then a little bit on the outside as well. So you want them to look kind of like they're rising up. And then I'm going to stamp those off until they kind of disappear. So it kind of gives it some depth. And then I'm going to fold this. Now I cut my, this was 7, right? So it's 3.5 by 8.5. So the other one, the Designer Series paper, I cut 3.25 by 8. So it leaves a little bit of a border on this. So again, I wanted the bubbles to kind of look like they were rising. So I'm not going to do the whole thing, just kind of towards the top. And then there's a couple of sentiments in this set. So I'm just going to stamp those in black. This is just thought you should know how wonderful you are. And it's another reason to stamp off with your bubbles so it doesn't show through, doesn't interfere with your black because the Pacific Point's kind of a bright color. So that's all done. And now when you lay this on here, we're gonna get a tiny bit of the bubbles going up around the edges. You're not gonna see a ton, but it gives a little bit of the illusion of the card going up. And super fun inside, isn't that fun? Because when you have matching dies and a matching stamp set, you you should put them on the inside. I don't always do it on my cards because a lot of times in my videos, it's a time issue. I don't want to sit here forever taking all your time. Now I'm going to use my fine tip glue. Now I've had a couple of people recently say that sometimes when they go to use it, it doesn't come out anymore. And if you let it sit very long, like you can't take 20 minutes making a card and have the lid be off and expect it not to dry. But sometimes even mine, just when I made it before, it has this little thing that gets on the top. Just pull that off and then the glue does come back out because it can form a little bit of a little skin on the top. But it makes a really good glue for holding these dies down because I want them to have some movement. So I didn't want to use the sticky sheets because otherwise it defeats the purpose of having the fun gills and the little movement that the dies have built into them. So I'm just going to add this down here. Then we'll add our seahorse, and the seahorse has some places on it that are wider. So that's where I'm going to add my adhesive or the glue. And that'll be enough to keep it stuck on. And then my two little fish, and I'll go back and press those on in a second. The fish go two different ways. I cut out of that same die. So if you want them going the same way, just cut them out twice so you have two of each. And you could put one on the inside then. I'm just gonna put this on here just for a second. We're gonna use the glue again. Then I have the white twine from our Basic Essentials twine. I'm not going to cut it because I'm going to take it and I want it to kind of wrap around the card. There's a lot going on to try to get all this to hold on at one time. So I'm going to add enough here. And then I'm just going to wrap this around. Let's start up here. I did it like 4 times, I think, before. But you need to have enough here that you're going to be able to tuck that under when you mount it to your card. But because I want it to go through my coral, I had to do this after my coral was on. That's stuck. Now we'll put that there. Sometimes the specialty papers, you have to be a little special when you work with them because they can be a little temperamental, but just a tad. If I had used adhesive, it would have stuck like a sticky strip or something, but I wanted to have, see how this has a little bit of lift and how these have a little bit of lift and his gills are still coming up. I wanted that to happen. And then we need enough here that I'm going to be able to tuck that under. So give myself enough to tuck that under. Now see, if you do this and you just leave this and the lid off, it is going to dry in the top of that. So you can't just leave it there forever, but we're going to use it again. You just have to make sure that you put the lid on it. Now I know this is going to be right about here, where that's going to tuck under. And plus it's going to hit that other stuff that's wrapped around. This is our seal, so if I hit the wrong place when I first put it on, I'll be able to move it. So I'm going to take this one right here and hold it about where I want it to go. The nice thing about this is it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to start down here at the bottom, kind of line that up. I did get a lot of ink on my hands, more than I thought that I did. I want that to kind of look like it's just going around this, so it doesn't have to be tight. And now I can press the rest of it down. And now where I want the rest of this to lay, I can hit just a couple of dots of glue. Get a little bit more in him right here. Okay, now for my embellishments, I was going to use the opal rounds. I was going to use the iridescent dots. And then when it was all said and done, these were sitting here on my desk and I've hardly used them. They're the Sparkle and Shine sequins. Now they go with the rainbow. That's where you'll find them in the catalog. And because the rainbow has been on back order for a little bit, I haven't hardly used them. But the little stars in them kind of look like starfish. And there are little raised up ones that look like bubbles. So they were perfect for this. And of course the iridescent sequins are perfect. So I'm just going to dump some in here. It makes it easier to work with if you don't have the whole entire container. Then I'm going to take my glue And I'm just going to add a bunch of blobs. And everywhere I hit a blob will be where I add a sequin. And then I'm going to put my lid on. But see this right here? If you put your lid on with that coming out, that's what's causing the little goobie. So you can go ahead and wipe that off before you ever do it. It kind of depends, because sometimes when I'm filming for you guys, I even tell you I'm going to put the lid back on later, and then that thing dries. But you can just pull it off. Now, this is what I just used to roll that stuff off. But if you take this out of your Take Your Pick tool, because now I pick something else to use for my Take Your Pick. So you can buy this little insert here. It just goes right back in here. Screw this on, pull this off. So if you watched the video about how to take care of your stamp pad, I used the spatula tip. We just used this tip, and now I'm going to use my little picker-upper tip. So every time I use it, I just pull off a little bit to make sure it's sticky. It's not quite as sticky as Silly Putty, but it's a little bit like that. So then you just, these will just grab it. And this is why I think it's easier to not use the full container, because otherwise it picks them all up. But you can just grab it. And when you lay them on the glue, it's a super easy way to add these fun sequins, and it doesn't take nearly as long as trying to pick them up other ways. I'm trying to get some of these ones that are the half circles, because they really do look like bubbles. There's one there, not the one I just picked up. I will take a couple of up-close pictures of them on my website so you can see the ones I'm talking about. Here's one. But it looks like it's a dome-shaped circle. Oh, I thought that was glue. That is not glue. That's just a shiny part of my card. Here's the dome. Once you think you've got it all, sometimes you have to kind of move it around in the light to see that you got all of your little glue dots, which I think I did. Just dump those back in there. And a super simple card, just very basic stamping and some fun little highlights. Now every card's going to look a tiny bit different. I love the inside of that card. It could almost be the outside of a card. Add a couple of fish to it. But because of the way the paper is, it's all, you can see where that paper kind of matches up there. So there you go. If you're interested in joining my online retreat, it's super fun. It's one of my favorite events of the year. You do get 12 projects. They all have a video tutorial, and there is a PDF. My try-it classes and my retreats do come with a PDF with measurements. Then registration for that is open, and it doesn't stay open for very long because I have to get everything ordered and ready for it. So everyone have a great day, and I will catch you back here later. Bye.